chief.
Tonight, as the world marks International Men's Day, KBC Channel 1 takes a moment to reflect, honor, and celebrate men, including our male viewers in Kenya and around the world.
Well, from wherever you're watching us, this is Prime Edition live from Broadcasting House here in Nairobi, Kenya. Good evening. My name is Tom Boya.
Good evening. I am Mchuma Odim. It's Tuesday and MSME Susan Mangeni is live in studio to talk about financial inclusion, powering enterprise. What else should we expect on the program? Over to you, Regina Manyara.
Well, good evening. Indeed, it's International Men's Day, and indeed we honor you wherever it is for being the man that you are. So tonight on The Shift, we're looking at the Financial Inclusion Plan, aka Hustler Fund. As it turns 2 years next month, has it met its objective? Other than just looking if it has met its objective, we're also going to be looking at what government is doing to ensure that we have a conducive business environment. Just getting into the building tonight is none other than Principal Secretary MSME's Development, Madam Susan Mangeni there. As you can see from the screen, we are on the ready for the shift tonight, and she's going to be taking us through that conversation that is also open to you back at home on our various socials, including X at KBC Channel 1. My X handle is at Ray Manyara. Remember, this is one of the interventions under the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. Has it met its objective? What do you think needs to be done to make it more objective? Tonight on The Shift, we focus on MSMEs. Now back to you, Muchuma and Tom. As you can see, our guest tonight is being received by a delegation made of the chief news editors there. That is Graham Kira, as well as our main producer and editor, Catherine Ochenga, who is part and parcel of this particular production, ensuring that we give government as well as Wanjiko an opportunity to interrogate interventions therein and make them better. We need you for it. This is a shift. Keep it right here. But before we speak matters shift, let's have a look at what has been making headlines. Over to you, Tom and Chuma.
Certainly, yes, of course, we look forward to that conversation. What are your questions? What are your comments? If you have any, you can speak to us on our social media platforms.
At KBC Channel 1 on X, Facebook, and YouTube. Our sign language expert tonight is Lensa Odingo.
This live program begins right now with our top stories.
Excellence, integrity, efficiency, and consistency will be rewarded, while failure, negligence, waste, and misconduct will promptly invite corrective action.
No room for failure.
President Ruto's warning shot to cabinet secretaries as they sign performance contracts. Probing a 2 billion shilling graft.
EACC summons 4 members of the Mook University Council 1 day after issuing similar summons to the Vice Chancellor.
If we are taken to private insurer, we will still go on strike because the demands while we are putting forward, no private insurer can take them over. We are not going to lose any benefit which we used to have under NHIF.
And public servants now caution the government
Against what?
contracting a private insurer to manage their medical funds. A warm welcome to the broadcast.
Straight to our lead story. President William Ruto is tonight cautioning cabinet secretaries as well as other government officials against laxity in the performance of their duties.
The head of state, who said there is no room for failure, warned that those who fail to live up to expectation will attract corrective action.
The president spoke at State House in Nairobi during the signing of ministerial performance contracts for the financial year 2024-2025.
He exuded confidence that his government will perform despite the presence of unnamed individuals he referred to as naysayers.
Nancy Okware opens our coverage with that report.
It was the second time cabinet secretaries under the Kenya Kwanza administration were signing performance contracts. The signing at State House Nairobi coming against the backdrop of numerous changes in government, including a new second in command, Professor Kithure Kindiki. New faces under the broad-based government arrangement also took part in the exercise that seeks to ensure accountability and effective execution of tasks under various portfolios.
It will be important that as we execute our mandates, we exercise extreme humility. We also exercise integrity.
We are expected, in the context in which we exercise our mandates, to ensure that whatever commitments we make, we fulfill them.
In entering the public service, we are under an explicit and implied binding contract with the people of Kenya to perform the tasks and duties entrusted to us and manage resources under our stewardship to a specific minimum standard.
President William Ruto was clear in his speech that failure in his government is not an option.
Excellence, integrity, efficiency, and consistency will be rewarded, while failure, negligence, waste, and misconduct will promptly invite corrective action. And there is no room for failure.
He also called on the National Treasury to ensure speedy release of funds to avoid grounding government operations due to lack of funds.
Lack of funds or delay in their release should not be an excuse for failure to serve citizens.
While underscoring the importance of performance contracts, he challenged county governments yet to embrace it to take the necessary action. The president said he is confident his government will succeed despite naysayers.
And I promise you, we will confound the naysayers. This country will not fail. This great nation that God has given us will succeed. The enemies of Kenya will be put to shame.
President William Ruto has called on all government agencies to work together towards ensuring that the Kenya Kwanza agenda is achieved fully, saying that there is no room for failure. Nancy Okware, reporting from State House, Nairobi.
President William Ruto has bid goodbye to outgoing U.S. Ambassador to Kenya, Meg Whitman.
The president hailed Whitman's tenure as President Biden's envoy to Nairobi as a transformational period, saying that she was a great champion of Kenya's cause and interests in the United States of America.
He cited the elevation of Kenya to the status of a major and NATO ally by President Biden in May this year as a sign of a high point for relations between Nairobi and Washington that have existed for 60 years.
That's right. Whitman resigned from her post last week, just days after former President Donald Trump, was declared the winner of the 2024 U.S. presidential election.
She has been in Kenya for 2 years, having served since August 2022.
Now, Trump is expected to name her replacement once the government takes shape. I'll get an update on the ongoing probe into the 2.2 billion shillings graft scandal at the Moi University. The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, EACC, has summoned 4 University Council members to appear before it over that matter.
The latest development comes a day after Moi University's Vice-Chancellor Isaac Kosgei was summoned by EACC to answer claims of embezzlement through fraudulent infrastructural projects which has paralyzed operations at the institution.
Here's that report now.
Following public growing outcry on the state of Moi University, the anti-graft body EACC has tightened the noose on suspected claims of theft of over 2 billion shillings. EACC has today summoned 4 University Council members to appear before it to provide answers on the matter. The 4 suspects, together with the university's Vice-Chancellor Isaac Koskei, are expected to appear in person at the Commission's North Rift Regional Office in Eldoret this Wednesday for questioning and statement recording. Additionally, EACC in a letter has requested original copies of specific documents, including procurement plans and approved budgets for financial years 2016 to the current financial year. The university has been entangled in a protracted dispute regarding debts exceeding 8 billion shillings, which have led to disruption in learning activities due to strikes by lecturers and staff protesting against the administration's handling of financial matters. Meanwhile, Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission officials have arrested 2 suspects who allegedly attempted to extort 2 million shillings from a Director General of a state corporation. In a statement, EACC spokesperson Eric Ngumbi confirmed that following receipt of the complaint, the Commission mounted an operation last Friday, leading to the arrest of the 2 suspects, Francis Onyango and Abigail Janai. The 2 were nabbed in a Nairobi hotel after receiving 1.7 million shillings, being part of the 2 million shillings they had demanded from the State Corporation Director General in order to withdraw a petition filed in court for alleged embezzlement of public funds at the State Corporation. Joseph Ohungo for Prime Edition.
Let's go to Parliament now. The National Assembly is considering a bill that will allow adjustment of pensions earned by all retired public servants per the cost of living.
Now, the pension amendment bill currently before the National Assembly Social Protection Committee also seeks to provide for the use of the most current salary as the basis for the calculation of the pension that's payable to the retirees.
Appearing before the Alice Nganga Committee, the National Treasury, however, requested Parliament to hold on to the bill to allow the Treasury to complete an actuarial study on the review of pensions set to be done by the end of December.
Ishoki Washira reports.
As Kenyans continue feeling the pinch of the high cost of living, Matuga MP Tandaza Sawa now seeks to caution retirees by amending the law on pension. The pension amendment bill, currently before the National Assembly Social Protection Committee, seeks to allow an automatic cost of living adjustment to the pensions earned by all retired public servants. Further, the bill seeks to provide for the use of the most current salary as the basis for the calculation of the pensions.
Keeping it the way it is, that one will be paid his retirement benefits based on his last salary, 15 years if we're still alive, actually puts our Kenyan people, our civil servants who work diligently in a situation where it is very pathetic.
People, I'm sure, get scared when they're approaching retirement and they look at how they've worked and they look at what they're going to earn. I think people get tempted to say, I think now it is the sun is shining, let me prepare the hay.
The National Treasury, however, wants Parliament to hold on to the bill, awaiting an ongoing actuarial study on pensions review. The Treasury is concerned the enactment of the bill will occasion additional expenditure of public funds.
Even in terms of the bill that is proposed, our only request was that for a holistic approach, the advice we receive from the recommendations of the actuarial valuation would be valuable. It might affect beyond what has been proposed by Honorable Tagaza.
Seeing Carol, the Kenya Association of Retired Officers, cry before a parliamentary committee is a bad indictment, even on the plans of government.
Meanwhile, the Petroleum Institute of East Africa now wants Parliament to harmonize multiple licenses and permits imposed by the county and national governments, which has created adverse challenges to the industry.
And we have exemptions of the petroleum sector, given that it's regulated, in the ad hoc introduction of levies and licenses that are duplication.
on the unification of the charges that are levied by the county governments, look at the act that is in place, look at what it has failed to address, so that we can see how do we accommodate that in the operationalization in terms of the regulations.
The petroleum outlets groups were appearing before the Senate's Energy Committee to deliberate on challenges facing the industry. Gishuki Washira, Prime Edition.
Now, the Office of the Data Protection Commissioner, ODPC, in collaboration with Amnesty International, is pushing for an amendment on Data Protection Act to enhance data protection in Kenya.
Speaking during the celebrations to mark 5 years since Kenya obtained the Data Protection Act, ODPC Data Commissioner Immaculate Kasait said Kenya has made significant strides in dealing with data breaches and violations since the act was signed into law.
And as Timothy Kipnusu reports, Kenya is among 36 countries in the continent of Africa that has Data Protection Act.
Stakeholders charged with the responsibility of data protection converge in Nairobi to reflect on the milestone the country has achieved as well as the bottlenecks. 5 years since Kenya signed into law the Data Protection Act 2019. It is here that it emerged that Kenya has made tremendous strides in dealing with data breaches and violations.
As a country, we are trailblazing in terms of having an independent office, which is a very important aspect. And the importance of the independent office is to guarantee the public trust in case there are any complaints on data protection, to ensure that they are taken seriously.
ODPC Data Commissioner Immaculate Kasait saying our office has so far handled more than 7,000 complaints relating to data breaches.
The biggest complaint, of course, have been around digital lenders, and we have completed the complaint. We have issued several determinations, penalty notices, and we continue to do so as an office.
She, however, urged Kenyans not to hesitate to report any cases of data violation to ODPC. Kasait said ODPC's capacity building and scaling up campaigns to enable Kenyans understand the importance of protecting and safeguarding their personal data.
And what we've seen over the last 5 years is really a strident approach taken by the Office of the Data Protection Commissioner that has sought to create compliance not from the position of threats and intimidation, but really from the idea of creating a culture that respects the right to privacy.
We are looking at the Data Protection Act, we are identifying the gaps, and definitely in the new year we'll propose an amendment bill to both the Data Protection Act and to the regulations to ensure that we scale data protection compliance in Kenya.
While acknowledging the numerous challenges our office is facing, Kasait said they are determined to deal with emerging challenges, especially cases of cyber threats, noting that dealing with them will boost investor confidence, hence boosting trade, especially with the European Union and other nations.
One of the challenges that we see, of course, today is the advancement in new technology that we see as a challenge. Because with AI, we all have to begin asking ourselves in terms of guardrails, how can we make sure that the issue around data privacy is enhanced?
Kenya, being among the 36 countries in Africa enjoying the privilege of having the Data Protection Act, is indeed a step in the right direction, particularly made by the Office of the Data Protection Commissioner, ensuring the data of Kenyans are protected. Timothy Kipnusu for Prime Edition, Nairobi.
Right, now onto that story that has caught the attention of the nation. 8 unions representing public servants are cautioning the government against procuring the services of a private health insurer to manage their health fund.
Now, the union leaders are demanding a continuation of their pooled medical allowances to be managed by the Social Health Authority, in addition to the Social Health Insurance Benefit Package.
Their concerns comes ahead of a stakeholder public consultation meeting on the Public Officers Medical Scheme Fund Regulations 2024 developed by the National Treasury.
Now, Treasury has invited the public, State Department of Public Service, civil servants, unions, Teachers Service Commission, Public Service Commission, the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, as well as the Social Health Authority for public participation in the regulations tomorrow.
The civil servants' comprehensive medical cover is set to lapse on Thursday, the 21st of November, following its extension during the transition to SHA.
includes private employers, anyone, medical cover that is sufficient enough to actually ensure that whenever these people need services, they can be able to get it.
The other thing that we came out very strongly to indicate is that we did not need the government to go and procure this in a private insurance company. We wanted it to be managed within the government fund.
If we are taken to private insurer, we'll still go on strike because the demands we are putting forward, no private insurer can take them over. We are not going to lose any benefit which we used to have under NHIF. Those benefits are what we are trying to retain in the current dispensation. So if there is a private insurer which is ready to provide the same, they would have come by the time when the advertisement was made to them.
Solidarity forever, for the union makes us strong.
Let's now take you across the borders. A group of 20 richest nations have thrown a major lifeline to the ongoing conference of parties in Baku, Azerbaijan, saying that they need to forward a successful new collective qualified goal outcome in Baku in the COP29.
The statement has added impetus to the negotiations that entered day 9 today, with technical teams locking horns over the thorny issue of climate finance.
Now, the African Environment Minister decried the lack of commitment and delay tactics by the rich nations, who they accuse of adopting a very hard stance on the $1.3 trillion climate financing that is needed by developing nations to deal with the climate change crisis.
Brian Kimani joins us with more from the talks in Baku, Azerbaijan.
The statement by the 20 richest countries who are meeting in the city of Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, affirming their support and commitment to the ongoing talks here in Baku, has added a lot of enthusiasm and, of course, impetus to the ongoing negotiations. The world is now looking up to COP29 to see what kind of a deal it will deliver to the world. As the delegates attending the COP29 in Baku were sleeping, a major development was unfolding in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, where the 20 richest nations were meeting. The much-needed support for the ongoing talks took place, offering more credence to the climate talks that has been beset by boycotts and lack of much progress, especially on matters finance. The G20 accounts for 80% of all global greenhouse gas emissions and 85% of the world's economy, stamping their authority on the global stage.
G20 is also a very good chance to discuss the positions of the countries, because we have a lot of different approaches now regarding the structure, regarding the contributors list, and quantum.
Tired and weary delegates trooped back into the Olympic Stadium, looking forward for a better day after failing to make much progress in day 1 of the high-level ministerial conference.
If we do not leave COP29 with a clear decision on climate financing, I will tell you what the rest of us are thinking, that the developed countries are not interested in the development of the rest of the mankind.
African environment ministers decried the lack of commitment and delay tactics by the rich nations, who they accused of adopting a hard stance on the $1.3 trillion climate finance needed by developing nations to deal with the climate catastrophe, ripping their nations apart. Climate negotiations can be long and tedious, and sometimes technical. What with keeping up with all these meetings streaming up on the screen? It can be hectic. And so, what keeps one going is a bout of faith, hope, persistence, and in many cases, a cup of coffee. The United Nations Climate Change Executive Secretary Simon Steele called on nations to bypass their posturing and move swiftly towards common ground across all issues. From COP29, I'm O'Brien Kimani.
Thank you, O'Brien. Now, women have been challenged to demand representation in policy-making bodies and leadership positions.
This was a message as preparations get underway for the African Women Audacity Conference under the theme, Closing the Gender Representation Gap in Nation Building.
That's right, Tom. Dr. Luisa Akaiso, a convener of the conference, emphasized the critical role of capacity building and empowering women to take on leadership roles.
She stressed progress hinges on equipping women with the skills and opportunities.
The African Women Audacity Conference aims to evaluate the progress made in women empowerment over the past 30 years since 1995 Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action.
Now, the conference will take place between the 27th all the way to the 30th of November this year.
This year, which is 2025, is 30 years after Beijing 1995. And that is where the conversation of gender equality started from. So my question to you would be, how far have we come? We haven't really done much. We have been putting in the effort, but we haven't moved the needle so far. The only way that we can succeed is by encouraging more women to step away from being gatekeepers and give a chance to the younger women. They are ready to run with their gender.
Our socials at KBC Channel 1, and that story takes us to our first break. Coming up,
MSME Permanent Principal Secretary Susan Mangeni is live in studio to discuss financial inclusion as well as powering enterprise. That coming up shortly. Don't go away. We'll be back.
Christmas imefika na zawadi zake zimefika, na kama wewe ni memba wa Lutuutu usiogope, itisha, tutakufikishia. Nini unataka? Ikuwe ni yako ama ya mwenzako. Dial star 570 hash, chagua option 5 uwe memba, alafu tuma ujumbe mfupi kwa 40090. Weka wishlist yako. Nini unataka? Unataka fridge, unataka microwave, unataka pikipiki, unataka baiskeli, unamtakia mwenzako mbuzi. Tuma! Christmas hii Santa yuko na zawadi ziko kibao. Wapi ombi lako? Kuwa memba, kisha 40090. Tuma your wish list. Unatamani nini Christmas hii?
Wewe bro, nipatie hiyo risiti ya items. Wazi wazi.
Cheki, mimi sina ado hizo
Excuse? Niletee risiti yangu ya items. Asante. Nice. Ni pesa ngapi? 3,000. Hebu nisaidie na ile risiti ya items.
Nimeshinda mili. I'm the latest millionaire. Marry me, baby.
Yes! Guys, nimeshinda laptop. Nimeshinda TV 50 inches.
Nice na Risiti Legit promotion kutoka KRA. Download Risiti Legit app, scan QR code kwenye risiti yako, ujishindie zawadi kem kila wiki. Kuna grand prize ya milioni 3 kwa washindi watatu, milioni kila mmoja.
Say bye-bye to FOMO, the fear of missing out, by downloading the KBC Online app that gives you access to everything you love. Get the latest news, sports, music, entertainment news, live radio, and so much more at the palm of your hands. To get the app, simply search KBC Mobile Digital App in your Google Play or App Store and download the app. Catch what you want, anytime, anywhere. Stay connected. Stay ahead with KBC Mobile Digital App.
The Shift.
Welcome back. Our socials at KBC Channel 1 on X, YouTube, and Facebook.
Now let's get an update on the county's 2 security guards manning Roret Farmers Cooperative Societies in Bureti Sub-County, that's in Kericho County, were on Monday night killed and an unknown number of coffee bags stolen at the premises.
The gang is said to have fled after one member of the public raised an alarm.
Now details of this and other stories in our county news roundup.
The two security guards, 60-year-old David Langat and Charles Rotich, aged 52, were hacked to death before their assailants fled with bags of coffee from Roret Farmers Cooperative Society in Bureti Sub-County, Kericho County. Residents called on area leaders to ensure that security lights are erected along Roret to Kapkisiara Junction to improve security in the area.
Sisi tumehangaishwa na hii watu wa kuipa kahawa. Hii ni safari ya pili kukucha sasa kuipa kwa hii factory. Mara ya kwanza ilipatikana gari ambayo ilikuwa imepepa kahawa ya kwanza na there was no action by police.
Meanwhile, the Kakamega court has released the lorry driver who allegedly caused an accident that killed 13 people on the Yala River Bridge, Iguhu area along the Kakamega-Kisumu highway last week on bail of 100,000 shillings and a surety of 50,000 shillings. In Machakos County, a family in Mumbuni embroiled in a land dispute will continue to spend their nights in the cold after they were denied access to their home following the death of their father several years ago, despite a court order granting them access to the piece of land.
Tumekuwa kwa court case hapa Machakos High Court na orders zimekuja kwamba nirudishiwe shamba yangu. Hiyo court order tumejaribu kwenda kuserve those mayangos, wamekataa, wametutusi, wametuthreaten. Kwa sababu sisi ni law abiding citizens, tumetoka hapo nyumbani. Tutarudi kwa mahakama ili mahakama itueleze vile inafanyangwa kwa sababu hiyo inaitwa contempt of court.
Elsewhere, residents in Kisumu County have been urged to show up in large numbers for cancer screening.
Being diagnosed with cancer is not a death sentence. We have treatment. Please, all of you, come out, get screening so that you are diagnosed earlier in case you have any cancer, and so that you can have early treatment, early intervention.
On matters health, Narok County government has cleared pending bills for 11 ambulances leased by the previous county administration, totaling 79 million shillings.
We have improved a lot of the health services in our smallest unit of administration. That is the dispensaries and the health centers. And then the level 4 hospital, now we are operationalizing.
The Environment and Labour Court continued to hear a case involving Laffy Trading Company, which alleges unlawful occupation and registration of 2 parcels of land valued at 100 million shillings. The company claims ownership of the properties located in Isili, Nairobi County, based on allotment letters and lease agreements with the Nairobi County government. Finally, traders who sell second-hand products in Busia town have decried the action by the county government, asking them to vacate the area without giving them an alternative location. They're now calling on the county governor, Paul Otuoma, to intervene to solve the issue.
Hapa tuko na wajane, hapa tuko na mayatima, tuko na watoto kwa mashule, tunang'ang'ana, tunachukua loan.
Christine Matunda for Prime Edition.
Well, it is 29 minutes past the hour. It's now time to shift to the shift.
Madam PS, good to have you with us. Over to you, Regina Manyara.
Yes, thank you very much. Now we are shifting gears indeed, and this is a shift, and tonight we are focusing on MSMEs. Now, medium, small and micro enterprises account for 80% of all businesses and create 30% of jobs annually in the country. On the flip side, 46% of these businesses close shop within the first year of establishment, begging the question, could it be the stifling of these businesses, what could be stifling these businesses at infancy? It's perhaps the statistics that led the government to launch the 50 billion shillings financial inclusion plan, commonly referred to as the Hustler Fund, to support these businesses. Now, has this fund had the impact on small businesses? In the studio tonight, we are hosting Principal Secretary, State Department of MSME Development, Susan Mangeni, to get answers on the status of these businesses. Good evening once again. I'm Regina Manyara, and this indeed is a shift. Thank you very much for making time.
Thank you, Regina.
It must be quite the long day. You know, this morning we saw you at State House for the signing of the ministry's performance contract.
Yeah.
Maybe you can tell us what are the key productivity indicators at your ministry and what is in store for us.
Well, thank you so much for having me on this show, Shift.
Yes.
I'm just trying to imagine what the show is all about.
We'll get there.
Yeah, what are we shifting from? Yeah.
All right.
But I think is a great conversation because we are taking stock on where we are 2 years down the line since the coming into power of the current administration. So of course today we were at the State House to put the pen on the paper on our ministerial targets, how we commit to meet our mandate, you know, as the new ministry. You know, we are the new baby on the block. The Minister of Cooperative and MSME is, if you like it, you can say this is a ministry that carries the vision of the current administration, because this is the new ministry that then was crafted with the coming of the current administration. But then looking at our mandate, what are we shifting to? What do you want to achieve? First, to deepen financial inclusion at the bottom of the economic pyramid to enable majority of our population, our Kenya population, who at the moment are having challenges to participate effectively in the economy, and one major reason also being lack of access to affordable credit. They do not own means of production, the land, they are not formally employed, so they don't have pay slip that can enable them walk into a financial institution and commit the title deed or their pay slip to access credit that then will enable their participation in the economy or take up any self-employment opportunity. So that's one commitment. So we want to increase that. We want to deepen. We want to reach out more to as many people as we can. We want to reach out more to our young people, because as you know, our country is growing younger and younger every day. When other nations are growing older, we are growing younger and younger every day. So we must always put tomorrow into a focus, start figuring out what will happen to our next generation and even the current generation, which is heavily youthful, and also how do we then confront the question of youth unemployment. So now our targets are for this financial year, the current financial year, are geared towards seeing how we will mobilizing and organize the majority of our population, especially young people and women, to take up self-employment opportunities.
Entrepreneurship.
Yeah. Yes.
Very well said. I would say that meeting at State House has come at the right time, because tonight we're looking at that particular populace.
Absolutely.
I mean, employing 30% of actually is responsible for 30% of employment.
And we have potential to increase that, to scale it up even to the global. I mean, if you look at so our contribution, the contribution of MSME to GDP currently is about 40%.
Yes.
The global average is 60%.
We can get there.
We can get there.
You'll tell us
and
how.
That's why we exist, to make sure that we even surpass the global average.
Okay. Now, let's have a look at some of the statistics so far, because what you have mentioned right now is about matters of financial inclusion. And looking at it is that financial inclusion is still a challenge for me. Our discussion right now, that is MSMEs. Let's have a look at the statistics, what they say. We can have that on our screens there.
Okay.
Yeah, that is just a sample. We're talking about the clothing and
small
textiles, small businesses,
the
and
sectors.
such. But then we'd want to see the statistics as per a report by Kipra there. That Kipra had prepared a document there that showed in terms of the stats and how MSMEs in the country source for financing. Let's have that on our graphic so that we can unpack that, because financial inclusion has already been identified as a challenge, has been cited as a challenge there. So as we try to get those particular statistics, let me just give you what we have. According to the latest data, it shows in as far as when MSMEs are looking for finance, some of the sources of finance include 40% carries, that is the family. They either get money from their families or friends at 40%. Then 23% of these MSMEs get financing from commercial banks or SACCOs. Then come in mobile money platforms there. You can see it there on your projection there. We have mobile money accounting for 17%. And then loan sharks at 11%. Those are the ones that are keeping a majority of MSMEs awake with the SMSs, the threats.
The sharks?
Yes, the loan sharks, you know, on cases of default. On the second slide, we also have the reasons why these MSMEs seek finance. So 62% of those who were sampled in this particular survey indicated that they're seeking, the monies that they're seeking are for expansion, marketing at 57%, and 25% for new product. That's just but a quick summary of how an MSME in the country right now is seeking to get finance and how they intend to spend the money. Now, let's discuss from the numbers as it is, right? So, according to CBK, 46% of businesses are shut down within the first year. So then why would someone get into business? Why would you advocate? Why would you be telling someone to get into entrepreneurship in this, with the statistics?
Okay, but is there any other alternative if not entrepreneurship? So let me also try to give you our numbers that you're working with.
Okay.
So we have a potential workforce of about 20 million Kenyans, out of which only 3.5 million Kenyans are formally employed. Out of the 3.5 million Kenyans, only about under 1 million are in the civil service. Yourself, myself, the teachers, the police, the county governments, and all those who earn from the exchequer do not even make up to 1 million. 2.5 million are in the private sector, that is in the formal employment. Now, a whopping close to 17 million, going by those statistics, are in the informal sector. So how is the informal sector space? In the informal sector space, the jobs are not secure, the jobs are not sustainable. It's like a lottery kind of arrangement. Today you have, tomorrow you don't have. Now that's where majority of the Kenyan population who are of the age to work are right now. And every year we have a deficit of 900,000 jobs. In other words, we have close to 1 million people coming into the
job market.
The job market.
So there's no option.
And we cannot meet. We can. So we have a deficit of 900,000 just per year, which we need to be creating.
Okay.
So you can imagine, like I said, we're growing young and younger. So what does that say? What that picture then imply is that the only room we have to create a job is in the MSME sector, and is by growing the private sector, because it's the only one that has shown the capacity to recruit more people and also accord many people secure jobs. Good. So now it's not a matter of either this or that. It has to be done. It has to be done. We have to focus in the MSME. And now, but what is MSME? You know, sometimes I look at what people present as the MSME most of the time, and I've also seen it here. I've also seen it here. You tend to look only at the trade or what we're doing, the beadwork, the mtumba, those small. But you also forget that most of our farmers are MSME.
Oh, yes.
Because that's where they're driving a livelihood. True. Even though they're doing it at a subsistence level. And agriculture is the backbone of the economy. That's where also in the MSME sector, we source a lot of business idea. Most of our business ideas, by the way, emanate from the agricultural sector. So then, why renewed focus on MSME? Because one, it has potential to create jobs. Be as it is even today, over 90% of jobs are in that sector, even though they're not secure, they're not informal, but that's where majority of our population are deriving a livelihood. So as a government, we know that if we invest into that sector, if we create enablers, an enabling environment, if we can address the issue of access to financing, and when we talk about access to financing, I know you'll be coming to that question. What do we mean by unlocking access to finance?
Unlocking access to finance.
Yeah.
And one of the financial inclusion strategies that government has actually rolled out is the Hustler Fund. Now, I would want to know, have you registered?
Myself?
Yes.
Of course I am.
Thank you very much. So how much is your loan limit 2 years in?
My loan limit?
Yes.
You want
What
me to
did you
tell
start
you?
with? Yes. What did you
Of
start
course,
with?
I started with 500 shillings.
Where are you right now?
Right now?
Yes.
I moved up the ladder because I borrow and repay. I'm in the regions. You want me to tell you where my loan limit is?
We are here to discuss to see if it's working, because it is
It is working.
Yes.
But the most important
where are you
thing
at right now, so that we can bring in? There's another question, because the majority of Kenyans feel
there is this saying, because you see now, there's this saying that you don't really get to ask a man, not really a man like the gender, what he or she is worthy of.
So now, but you've claimed
let me
got
tell, of course, because we've had limit enhancement when we launched the fund, November 30, 2022, if you can recall.
Yes.
We reviewed the limit. The first time we reviewed the limit was around February. So those people were borrowing and repaying well. Some of them got 100% limit increase. So if you are like me, if you began with 500 shillings, I went to 1,000 bob. And then we did a second limit review during the anniversary, the Hustler Fund anniversary last year, which was on 30th November 2023. So there we enhanced the limit. But however, other than just doubling the current limit, because there is also that component of mandatory saving, so we gave our beneficiaries, our Hustler Fund beneficiaries, an opportunity to lock their short-term savings.
Yes.
So if they lock their short-term savings, assuming your short-term saving at that particular time was 25,000 shillings, so that one, so your new limit then, if you decided to lock, will now become 50,000 shillings. So I can tell you today, as a result of also, now introducing saving-led limit enhancement, we have borrowers, Hustler Fund beneficiaries, who started with like my limit, which was 500 shillings, but they can borrow, they transact many times in a day. Some will even borrow 10 times, depending on the kind of business which they're doing. And today, they are accessing 50,000. That's their current limit.
Okay.
So it is organic, the limit enhancement, but there is also the aspect of how many times. And your saving also impacts on your new limit.
On your credit score, so to speak.
Yeah. So the credit score aspect is still there.
I want
but
to
of
bring
course
that
we use your credit rating, your credit worthiness,
to
because to determine if
how much you're going to
if you have the ability to repay, or you have the willingness to repay.
Now, on the willingness to pay, let's talk about the statistics. Right now, we are at a default rate of around 27%. That roughly translates, if you say we have already disbursed around 50B, we are looking at 13.5 billion.
We have actually, I wanted to give even the status on where we are in terms of disbursement. So
you have an updated status.
So I have an update, and
no, we'll take a quick breather as you get
so because that's very important, so that you don't say 50 billion.
Yes.
You say you give the right figures. You say 60 billion. Actually, we
60 billion.
Yeah, we are clocking 60 billion.
60 billion because we have a chart we are going to.
We are clocking 60 billion. To 24.6 million Kenyans that we have served. Then we have mobilized savings of close to 3.3 billion.
3 billion.
we have repeat customers of about 8.5 million. But because this was a journey towards somewhere, and I'll be talking to where we headed with that journey, today we have close to 2 million Kenyans who have demonstrated good borrowing behavior. They borrow and repay within the right, within the
right
law.
times.
Yeah.
Okay.
And today we have many good things coming.
Let's get to the good things, because we're yet to look at the default
No, the good
rate.
thing will come later after I've explained to you what we mean, where we are, and the journey, how the journey has been so far, the last 2 years.
We take a quick breather as we compare notes in as far as statistics. Where the Hustler Fund is concerned. We'll be right back. Be part of this conversation. Get us on X at KBC Channel 1.
Have a complaint, or is something just not adding up with your pension scheme? It's easy to file a complaint directly with the Retirement Benefits Authority, and it's absolutely free. Just visit www.complaints.rba.go.ke and follow the prompts to file your complaint. RBA will acknowledge your complaint within 7 working days. Your complaint will be reviewed and addressed within 30 working days. Your time and peace of mind are important, and anyone dissatisfied with a decision of RBA can appeal to the Independent Retirement Benefits Appeals Tribunal. RBA is here to listen and resolve your complaint promptly, because your retirement should be stress-free. For more information, visit our website www.rba.go.ke, call our toll-free line 0800 720 300, or email info@rba.go.ke. Secure your future. Secure your peace of mind. RBA, safeguarding your retirement benefits.
Mamlaka ya ukusanyaji ushuru nchini inakuletea kampeni ya umma ya G-Nice na Risiti Legit. Thibitisha risiti yako ukitumia app ya Risiti Legit, upate nafasi ya kuibuka mshindi wa zawadi kemkem kama vile shilingi milioni 1 pesa taslim, laptops, televisheni ya inchi 50, smartphones na zawadi zingine. Jumanne tarehe 19 tutakuwa Nakuru, maeneo ya Naivasha, Gilgil, Nyahururu, Olkalau, Subukia, Bahati, Langa, na keshowe tarehe 20 tutakuwa Nakuru Town na viunga vyake, Njoro, Elbagon, Molo na Mau Summit. Pata app ya Risiti Legit kwa Google Play Store au App Store kwa maelezo ya kuingia katika mashindano ya Risiti Legit. G-Nice na Risiti Legit. KRA, tulipe ushuru tujitegemee.
Tulikuwa tumekaa tu nyumbani na mama hapo tunatulia.
Mamako?
Mamako? Si mamangu, manzi yangu.
Nani?
Manzi yangu.
Mke nasikia umeoa mwisho ni mdogo kushinda huyo. Sasa si wewe ndio umemwondesha hiyo tabia?
I can do it. Hata wazazi. Kwa hivyo mimi nilikufa kwa maisha mtoto yangu. Are you single or married?
None of them. Business. Sasa hiyo inahusika wapi na hiyo?
Unaona hata huyu utapata hapo na mtoto kidogo.
Wewe.
Hiyo ndio shida.
Wewe toka.
Wewe heshimu koti.
Wewe si umtafutie bibi.
Heshimu koti. Wewe heshimu koti, heshimu koti.
Ndio alikukubali amepata.
Je, ungependa kuwa mshindi na Lucky Box? Ni rahisi sana.
Bonyeza *463# uwe mshindi. Nimekwambia kuwa wazazi wangu wanataka kunioza cha lazima. Unasemaje?
Ni dhihirisho kuwa hutaki chochote kutoka kwangu.
Rama! Rama!
Chumbani mwako unamolala wewe mwenyewe, eh? Utakata vipi wewe simui hata kama hujamua?
Kila mtu anaweza kuwa mshindi. Bonyeza *463# uwe mshindi.
Kuchagua box ni kuchagua chapa.
Kumbuka, kila unapocheza Lucky Box unasaidia watoto kusoma.
The Shift.
Tonight we focus on MSMEs and how they're powering the economy. They're looking at financial inclusion plan, aka known as a Hustler Fund. So before we took a break, we were looking at the statistics, and our guest tonight is none other than PS MSME Development. That is Madam Susan Mangeni. We were looking at the statistics as it were. You said around 60 billion has already been disbursed to 24.6. Now, roughly, with the estimates that we have in the last report that was shared, we are working with around a default rate of around 27%, which roughly puts like 13 billion shillings is at risk. So let's just have a sneak peek of a screen that we took from the website to give clarity. There we are. Around...
I don't know, when did you take this?
Actually, this evening, because it was live. It's a live page. I noticed it's a live page every time someone comes up. It actually changes, payment.
From which website is this?
Yeah, the Hustler Fund website. You can get
so
it
I think probably they've not it
maybe updated.
Maybe.
But
then
let's
give you what I
figures.
have.
Yes, let's work with those figures. It seems quite a majority. It's a popular fund and such. But then, how are you planning to... Why do you think Kenyans are not willing to pay up? Because a default rate of around 27% is higher than even what we have across commercial banks at 15.
What do we have?
Around 15,
for the commercial?
17%. Yes.
15?
Yes.
17%?
Yes.
When you started off, you said from the study by Kipra, they say only 23% of MSME gets finance. Or if you're to get finance through the banks.
They opt,
through the banks. And you said the NPL is how much? That's 15%.
Yeah.
And these are already MSMEs who are visible, who are knowledgeable, who are already in the bank's record. But they still have an NPL of 15%. Now, let's look at the segment of the population we are trying to serve, to intervene for. These are people who the banks will never touch, who are regarded as higher risk. They have higher risk, so they don't have collaterals, they don't own land, they don't have title deed, they're not employed, they're not salaried. So the bank is not willing, commercial banks are not willing, to lend to them. And these are people probably who have not been taken through capacity building, even on financial literacy. They don't know how to do market profiling, ideation around business, So like I said, most of them were just trying, because you cannot also just stay idle and you have to make your end meet. But we're looking at NPL of 27%. If that is not an achievement, then I do not know what is an achievement.
You're saying government is ready to continue carrying this burden? Or are you intending to de-risk it?
It's not really a burden when we are intervening. So the government, number one, the government doesn't do business. The government, if it has to intervene in a situation, is try to correct and stabilize and make sure that we create a conducive environment where our population, majority of the people, can reside in and achieve their end. So, probably, let me go back to what is the purpose of Hustler Fund, so that we know how are we measuring the achievement.
Access to credit to the underbanked.
And I think even to give credibility to the show, because of the shift, the theme around shift.
Yeah, changing how we do
so
things.
That's really what we've done through Hustler Fund already is transformative, is transformative. And now I've talked about having been able to disburse close to 60 billion to 24.6 million Kenyans who we have established your credit profile today as we speak. Before, most of them were not visible, but today they are visible. If you recall, when His Excellency the President was taking office, close to 8 million Kenyans were in CRB, had been blacklisted. Once you're blacklisted, sometimes you're blacklisted not because you lack the willingness to pay, but probably your ability to pay has just been disrupted by the various shocks that happen in the economy. Around that time, we were smarting from pandemic, corona pandemic, you know, and you know where the protocols around social distance. If there is a segment of the society or the population that was heavily affected, were the MSMEs, mamambogas, nini, who could not now interact with their day-to-day customers because we had to maintain those protocols. Then around that time, we again experienced the worst drought ever in 40 years of our history as a country. Like I said, the source of our business is heavily agriculture. So then it means if there is low productivity in agriculture, so there is no business also. Then of course, around the same time, and they still continue, again, we started experiencing the geopolitical tension, conflict happening in the global supply chain. Kenya does not live in isolation. So what happens in Ukraine and Russia, to some extent also, in fact, to a huge extent, gets to affect our economy.
We had a
we experience
in supply chain.
Inflation, high inflation. You saw the fuel prices skyrocketing and so many things. And then sometime last year, again, the war in Israel and Gaza. All these things, all those external factors do also weigh on our economy. And the people who gets affected most whenever we have such kind of disruption are MSME. So at the time when His Excellency the President was taking office, 8 million were in CRB blacklisted. 18 years and above, in their most productive age.
So they were taken off.
So then how do you grow the economy when you have 8 million people blacklisted? They cannot do anything. They cannot engage actively in the economy because they cannot do business. Probably they're not employed. They can't do anything. So we had to address that. So that was the market failure that we set out to address. Now, how are we addressing this market failure? So within the first week of His Excellency taking office, I know there are things which he did immediately. The first one, of course, you remember the judiciary, the judges.
He went through.
And the second one was intervening in the credit market. He had a meeting, and if I recall very well, it was opposite where we are here at the Norfolk Hotel, with the sector players in the financial sector, mainstream financial sector, and the telcos, all those other players. And they say, we cannot continue like this. We must intervene. It's good to give that.
Yes.
It's good.
We
let me just
background.
You know
but
that
allow
background.
Me,
I need to give you that background.
But the background,
so that you get to understand why today
we are here where we are.
We are here, and we can claim
the question
success.
Is the high default rate, low interest rate at 8%, rising operational costs. Now, from a business point of view, I know you've told me government doesn't do business, but we are looking at it sustainably.
No, you know, if you allow me, walk through the background, then even that question will ask it differently.
Okay.
You will ask that question. So allow me just to finish that because
How
it's
do you
very
plan
important.
To de-risk
it's very, before even, without the background, those other questions, we will never, because you want probably an answer yes or no, this will risking. Relax.
No, we'd want to
relax
know how you
because you want us to discuss impact. And you told me here the first thing
impact.
We're gonna discuss impacts of this financial inclusion intervention. That's why relax and let me just walk you.
Oh my!
Briefly, because that's very important.
Okay, fine.
So now, we needed to come in, correct the market failure. Because of now having a segment of the population blacklisted, mainstream financial sector was not serving them, predatory lenders came up. And from your statistic, from the report that was done, 11%. But before that, it was even worse at the point when we were coming in. And the credit was extremely expensive. Some were being charged 10% per day. Work it out per annum. We'll be talking about
25, around 25%.
If you're being charged 10% interest per day,
commercial
per annum,
25.
Per annum.
All right.
I'm talking about predatory lenders.
Okay.
Yeah, because the mainstream financial sector was not touching those people because they're high risk. So now the sharks came in, you know, and the predatory lender, digital lenders also came in. And because someone is in need of credit, at the point when you're borrowing, you wouldn't even mind about the interest rates. So what was happening in our economy is that a segment of our population were actually working for those sharks. It was like we are trading in money. You bring your money, I trade with it, it's you who is earning. So the livelihood, there was no impact on their livelihood. So we came in to intervene that and also demonstrate to the mainstream financial sector that indeed you can still lend out to this segment of the population at a single digit interest rate. It is possible.
I agree.
And now
I want to tell me how you plan to de-risk this and retain collect arrears.
I know you love that de-risking.
No,
but
actually,
de-risking is already part of
even as we are
the hustler fund.
Madam PS, even as we are trying to de-risk, government itself has already pronounced itself saying that now it targets, your department targets to increase, repayment rate out to 80%. And 2025, 2026, and by 85%, 2026, 2027. And my question is, what is the plan? Because it has helped, as you've said, that those whose credit score is high and they're earning. But then the future, the sustainability of this particular fund.
Let me tell you. You see, if we are discussing an intervention, it is good to understand where we were and where we are today and what we think are the KPIs, what are the indicators, and why we think 2 years down the line that this intervention is working. So once you listen to that, then I will respond to your de-risking questions.
Yes.
And I want you, because you want us to discuss the shift.
Yes.
So allow me to tell my story, and then you can bring in.
You see now stories, ma'am. Right now,
because if you want a question of I'm asking you this, you have to answer in your own story. Unfortunately, I may not say it in your story. I have to say it in our story because we designed this program. And then from there you can ask, so what are you going to do with this? And then I can be able to put it to focus. So
yes, sustainability.
I want you to listen. Of course, sustainability is there. And this is how sustainability will work out. Where are we today? So I've already given you in terms of disbursement where we are and how many Kenyans we've reached out and what is the significant outcome of that experience the last 2 years is that today we have credit history of all those 24.6 million Kenyans who have benefited from Hustler Fund. You see, for the bank to assess whether you have the ability or the willingness to pay, they must have some footprint of your record, But that has been lacking. So if you like, you can consider Hustler Fund as having done the first credit censor of Kenyans, Kenyans who are in need. So we have that data there. So this data now we are taking to the next level because our work was to intervene, to rehabilitate those who had been blacklisted, to create an opportunity for the newcomers, the new entrants, to start building their credit history so that then they can be reintegrated, they can be known by the private sector financing institution and be supported, start building relationship that can now allow the banks to start financing. Okay. So now where we are, and what we'll be doing during the second anniversary is that close to 2 million Kenyans have demonstrated high credit rating on Hustler Fund experience. 2 million Kenyans, those are out of the 24.6 million Kenyans. Yeah. And I'm sure if we are to work out, you say, oh, that is too small. But what is an additional entrance of 2 million to an economy? 2 million can create job for the rest of 22 million. 2 million can build our economy, by the way. If each one of them was to establish, let's say, an enterprise that even creates 1 or 2 jobs, that will be an impact to our economy. So if you want to measure the impact of this intervention, We want to look at it that way. So, and we are not saying that's the end of the story.
I would want to know.
So, because we wanted to graduate, so
yes.
the 2 million now are being graduated
to higher
graduated to a space where, because now they have shown us and have demonstrated their resilience. They have also demonstrated good borrowing behavior, and they have, of course, overcome the moral hazard that is usually attached with the government funding. You know, like the one which you're just telling me, or these people say we borrowed there, you know, all those. But these have demonstrated that if you give us an opportunity, we can borrow for a purpose and we can repay. So do not exclude us. And that's the financial inclusion. And if after 2 years, we can be recording a graduation of 2 million from the pool which we have, I think that's impactful to the economy. So that now the commercial sector is now willing to start building relationship with these people so that then they can graduate them and start bankable. Now doing business. They start becoming bankable. They start being of, you know,
now, doesn't that then mean that the Hustler Fund has also adopted risk-based lending, a model that has
been used? Of course, this is a risk-based lending in South, because we took risks. We have to it's only government that could enlarge its risk. I mean, but then, we had to enlarge our risk appetite, because in any case, these are our people.
But then the question is, isn't it the same way that, isn't it the same model that is applied by commercial banks once they do risk-based lending? That's why
it is not the same model, because
it's expensive to these people, locking out the very same people that were meant to benefit. No, now we have 2 million out of a possible...
No, but you see, we are not locking out these other people.
Okay.
We are just introducing products that somehow, if you like, will reward good borrowing behavior. But this other one, we still have an opportunity for them. It's like a rehabilitation center. So we are rehabilitating their credit score. You still have an opportunity to borrow. When you see that those ones who have been borrowing well and repaying can now access higher loan limits that can enable them even do business, then of course you also will be motivated. We are not locking out, and that's why when you raise the issue and say, oh, these are defaulters, what are you going? They're still our people, and you still believe we need to talk to them more. We need to build their capacity. We need to sensitize them more. Probably we need now to become more, more deliberate in our approach and reach out to them, because we know where they are. I mean, we know where they are. We know their spaces. And if you gave me your number, I will know. If you gave me your ID, because the ID is the unique identifier, these are our citizens. And so we are just now molding a very good culture around a cultural behavior around credit. Because if you went to some economy, by the way, credit worthiness is something that they put a lot of emphasis
on. True.
For example, I know of countries, if you went today and you want even to purchase something, or you want even to book a hotel or do something, they will prefer your credit card as opposed to your debit card, because your credit card speaks a lot about you, about your behavior, about your credibility, whether you can be trusted or what. And in this world, it's always good to show some trust. Yeah. Now, because you can never have it. You can never have everything. Even if today, let's say, you have a piece of land that you can commit as a collateral. But if you commit in one bank and a business opportunity comes up, you cannot transfer from that bank to the other. So your credit rating could help you to be referenced to that bank, and you can be supported. So what you're saying, that's what you wanted. So the significant outcome that has come from there, the 2 years experience. So we are going to designate credit rating to all our beneficiaries.
I hope the rest will not be locked out.
No, nobody's getting locked out.
And that is where I'm coming.
Nobody's getting locked
out. When we rolled out the Hustler Fund, the minimum borrowing was 500 shillings. Currently, we have a minimum of up to 100 shillings. That's one aspect. Secondly, the only way the fund is to recover from bad loans is through the savings of these individuals. Are there plans to institute?
Why are you
legal-
saying the only way is through the savings?
Tell me, what other ways are you employing to actually recoup?
Why
this?
are you saying
We've
through
had
the
government
saving?
mention that they are looking at other ways, and I would want to know what other ways are there, because currently as it is, from the documentation, is through the savings. Are there other ways to
So
recoup
we
these
are
loans?
doing a lot of, so these beneficiaries are our people, and we are supporting them so that they can access credit, affordable credit in the market. They can be trusted by the commercial banks and be, enabled to access credit. Because even if government was to run a credit scheme, it can never be sufficient. And we are not there to crowd out the private sector. It's the private sector actually that grows the economy. So we want these people to acquire the right capabilities around credit so that they can serve there. So these are our people. We are nurturing them. We are rehabilitating. We are just nurturing good credit behavior. Now, to reward that, we are introducing products that now when you graduate, it's just like a learning system. You move from one level to another, one level to another, until the time when we now feel you have really, mastered, your area of expertise, and now you can go outside there to practice. That's what you're trying to do.
So what happens to those who are not
those
toeing the
ones?
line?
They will still be there.
Will they be let go to just go away with government money?
No. They will never even go with away.
They'll not run away. You're not letting them run away the money.
We are not. Number one, we know who they are. We are still talking to them.
Yes.
But after the second anniversary now, we'll have segmented. Because today, we're just giving global, figure. We are saying these people, but we can segment and say who this. So we start assessing their ability and the willingness to pay. Because that's what even the banks use to assess whether they can lend to you. And so, since we have provided the information, we have established the credit profiles of them. So towards the end of this month, during the second anniversary, once we launch the Hustler Fund credit rating, we will put them into various buckets. That those ones, for example, who we know they borrowed once and they ran away. You see? Yeah. That those ones who have been borrowing frequently, but maybe once in a while they will slag behind. And
so you will
understand.
categorize them?
We are categorizing them.
We will pick it up from that point so that we can know which categorization
is very important,
what it will mean.
So that we don't come up with a blanket, a blanket
we take a breather, then you will
yeah.
tell us what these categories
Thank
mean.
you.
We take a quick breather. We're talking about inclusion and a keen eye on Hustler Fund. Do keep it right here. We'll be right back.
Rahisisha uwezo wako wa ushindi kwa kukuwa memba wa Loto Moto, na ni rahisi. Dial *570#. Ukiwa memba ni rahisi kufika kwenye jukwaa hili ili kujaribu mchezo wetu wa Loto Moto Show. Na pia kama memba unajipa nafasi rahisi ya kuingia kwenye promotion zetu zinazokupa nafasi ya kujishindia chapaa na zawadi kibao kama TV, friji, pikipiki, mashamba na pia magari. Kuwa memba ni *570#. Tushinde kama memba.
Ginye fara, if it was you ungefanya nini?
Barmi angeshika ya mtu. I put him in a tree, remove all the clothes. Have a razor blade. Alafu na gata yama pieces kadogo kadogo kama ile ya nyingine.
Omera, this is my phone. It is not yours.
Of course it's yours, but it is tapping.
Why are you people intruding into my personal life?
Hey, leta muda yangu. What is wrong with you? Let me go, you crazy. Wewe ndio kilezi. Leta muda yangu.
No, come here.
Leta muda yangu. Kamene, calm down.
The Shift.
Welcome back to The Shift. Tonight we're looking at MSMEs and looking at how we are empowering them. That is government focus. Keen focus is on financial inclusion. And taking us through this conversation is none other than Madam PS, MSMEs Development, Susan Mangeni. Now, before we took that break, you were telling us as we mark the second anniversary, we're going to be classified, those who have registered and onboarded on Hustler Fund, depending on your credit score. After we are categorized, what happens?
Okay. So like any class, there comes a time when you have to do an exam to see, you know, also just to establish whether everybody is at the same level, isn't it? And you'll be scored according on how you perform. So we've had 2 years of experience of the Hustler Fund, and so no Kenyans, especially our beneficiaries, can say we've been unfair to them, especially those that we began with, who borrowed from the very beginning that we launched the Hustler Fund. If you borrowed once and you refuse to pay, and you're here and you're a Kenyan, of course you'll be scored differently and you'll be scored very poorly. So if you've been borrowing regularly and repaying, again you'll have a very fair credit score. But then like the 2 millions I'm talking about, people who've been borrowing and repaying, showing that they're borrowing, they have good borrowing behavior. So good behavior is usually rewarded, yeah? Even when it comes to a day-to-day, you know, life, you reward good behavior, you know. So what will happen is that we will be launching our credit rating. It's just a categorization of all these beneficiaries, with an objective of course, rewarding those who...
Where there's a reward, there must be punishment on the other end. What is the punishment?
And of course, correcting.
Oh, correction, not punishment. Okay, so
correcting those ones. And you see, for me, and what actually the government is looking, we just want to nurture good borrowing behavior.
So what happens to those who are not good borrowers?
So those who are not good borrowers, of course, we reach out to them and we'll tell them that we will want to establish whether you won't pay. You know, there is also won't pay or can't pay.
Now, on that note, Madam PS, so that you can clarify, let's have a listen to what the CS said about the plans that you are looking. Yes, on the won't pay. Let's have a take on what the CS said about won't pay. On those who won't pay. Yeah.
We have the Hustler Fund. Now, this Hustler Fund was very innovative, digital. But the problem we have had with Hustler Fund is that first round, 21,000 people borrowed money. Out of 21,000 people, 21 million people, not 21,000, 21 million people borrowed money. Out of that, 19 million disappeared with the money. 2 million, these are the ones now who are borrowing regularly. And soon we shall also be awarding those who are good borrowers. There's one already who is now borrowing up to 2 million and doing very good business. But this is public money which should be borrowed and repaid so that other people benefit from it. So for those 19 million, I'm coming for you. To make sure that you pay so that others can benefit. Even yourself, you can benefit. Because if you borrow and you don't pay, then you cannot borrow again. The system does not allow you to borrow again. So I want you to borrow again and again so that you are able to develop yourselves. Yeah? So we are coming up with a system that will now track you to know that where you are, you will see someone knocking. Can you pay the Hustler Fund back for the benefit of others?
Well, that sets the conversation going here, and we're looking about that. And also we had asked you a few questions about your experience with the Hustler Fund, and we have the PSC in studio. Let me just sample some of your feedback so that she can just give her comments as we go. So one is at Edwin Manotti on Twitter. That's one of the questions. What is your experience with the Hustler Fund? So at Edwin Manotti says, 800 shillings. Will we receive our savings? Where are they? Does the Hustler Fund have a physical office? Then Braxton Manazi says they are sending disturbing messages day and night. Madam PS, messages there. It is working because each time unatoa loan, ulipe on time, limits zinapanda. That is from Lintash. Vincent Ngoge says, I'm trying to pay, I'm almost done. Weldon Sigei says, sema pole pole, hapo kulipa imetulemea. All right. Then dawa ya deni ni kulipa all the way from Kitwene Baseline, Meru County. Yeah, that is my county. That is Ayang Kubitu. Then 500, unaweza nunua nini surely? That is Salome Kania. Madam PS, that's just some of the feedback that we're having there. And we've already had the CS pronounce himself in regard to the measures that you wanted to take.
Yeah, my CS is spot on.
Spot on?
Yeah, because of course, this is a behavioral process. We gave you an opportunity to repair your credit, rating that had been damaged. You had been blacklisted. The president came in, he intervened with the key players in the financial sector. They agreed to whitelist you from the blacklist. You're given a second chance. And you're told now, we are going to give you, we will not lock you out. We were not even looking at whether you were in CRB or not. We said it's universal. Come all of you. So you have a chance to demonstrate again good behavior.
So broken promises.
And so the broken promises are on them. I know you keep on saying it's a. So what the CS is saying, we will reward those the good behavior and those good beneficiaries. And how are we rewarding them? Now they're going to be graduated to enhance products. For example, during anniversary, we'll be unveiling a product we're calling Bridge. So this will be a bridge from the digital lending on a Hustler Fund to now the banks. So where we want you now to start being known by the bank, to start building relationships.
So you're reintroducing this to the banks?
Yeah,
okay.
and that was the whole purpose.
Right.
Like a rehabilitation. We pick you up.
Bridging project.
We clean you. So the bridging product will only be accessible. And that's why now we begin.
To the 2 million?
Yeah, to the 2 million, or only to those ones. As of today, there will be 2 million who have demonstrated good borrowing behavior. And then so, their current limit, we will work out the current limit. Some will have their limit being doubled. Some will have their limits being tripled, depending again on the credit rating, which I said, we will segment them into a rating from C to A. So if you are within C, it means probably you borrowed once or twice and you decided kukua mjanja.
So you now, well done Sigei who says sema pole pole hapo kwa kulipa imetulemea.
Hapo sasa for well done Sigei tutasema tu not pole pole. We'll say it aloud because if you do not repay and belong to the right category, then you are locking yourself out of the economy, out of the financial sector.
Let me be the devil's advocate.
Because this is what will happen.
What will happen? Because
this is what will happen.
Deduct monies from M-Pesa and my airtime. Isn't that also now a breach of privacy? Haven't we now gotten to somewhere? We change the rules of the game.
But where did we say we are going to deduct money from
you
M-Pesa?
said anyways. Now we want to know.
I haven't had my CSA.
Tell us how will you go about it? Because currently it's from the savings.
Because government does so many interventions.
Okay.
For example, there's so many interventions that we do.
So those who are going to, as we come to a close.
So because
those
how do we use good money on bad money.
All right.
That's
You
the
can't.
question that all of us need to ask.
It's a sum
Yet,
total
like I
negative.
said, every year we have close to 1 million Kenyans gaining entry into the workforce. Also, who wants to benefit from those opportunities. You borrowed once, you borrowed 500, ukajifanya mjanja, and then you say, wataniona wapi? Your unique identifies your ID. We know you, but we've given you time to repay. And we are doing this for your own good. You are not punishing the government, you're punishing yourself. Because now, these 2 million Kenyans who have braved off the moral hazard, when the commercial sector now, the commercial bank, they view them differently. You see? You can imagine a Kenyan who has borrowed government money. They usually say that one is joke or whatever that people talk about it, and that high moral, you know, hazard attached to it, and has paid. The banks will run after them because these people have demonstrated beyond doubt that they can be trusted.
So, Madam
this is
PS,
someone you can trust. So these
what
other
happens
people,
to these other people? Are
no,
they
we are
taking them
there.
back to
We are
CRB?
not, but we are not. No, we are not. We are not closing Hustler Fund.
But
It will
are you
still be
taking
there.
them back to the CRB?
It's like a rehabilitation center. When let me tell you what usually happens.
Okay.
When, for example, you're a drug addict or you're an alcoholic, you go there, you get rehabilitated, and then you fall along the way. We'll still be there to support you.
So no CRB
because
though?
all we want.
I
so
want to know if you're going back to CRB,
no,
Madam
I don't
PS.
think you're going back to CRB, but you'll be locking out yourself because you're given an opportunity, you're given a platform, you're given, you know, a way out of your current situation so that now you can be trusted in the market. But then you mess up the opportunity, you think you're smart, you are locking
out yourself
now from the economy.
2 seconds to the members of the public, the 2 million who've been diligently playing on Hustler Fund, and those who, like Weldon Sigay, who says 500 takuwa ngumu kulipa kwa sasa.
No,
to you, as we come to a close.
And
as we
somebody
bring this
else
to a close.
asked, what can you do with 500 bob?
Yes.
If you have a
directly to them on that camera.
If you have a business mind, in business, every cent matters. Every shilling matters. We have beneficiaries. We have a beneficiary, for example, during the last year when we were doing the first anniversary, who was a tuk-tuk driver. And he started borrowing 500 shilling, and his story, and many other people have told us great stories around 500 shillings, how they've been able to grow and grow their limit. By the time when we were marking the first anniversary, the gentleman had saved close to 200,000.
Wow.
In the savings. That is something, defines him differently. And his limit, of course, today, that's one of those people that are borrowing up to 50,000. Last weekend, I interacted with a group of women, and one of them had amazing stories.
Okay.
She has opened a kibandoski, you know that.
And she's doing
And
well.
she started off by borrowing 500 shilling. She went and bought the baking flour and the cooking oil and stuff. She started making chapatis and selling
so
them.
It is a success story for
it
those
is.
who are working.
People who have a business mind, if you're borrowing because you want to do something, let me ask the person who asks what can you do with 500. If you want to start your vegetable vending business, 500 shillings, you can go get some skuma wiki and start. You can get tomatoes and start. So what I'm saying, if you have a business mind, there is no little money in business. There will always be a function. But again now, these 2 million, we have so many of them who started with a limit of 500 shillings. But today, they are now going to be graduated to a product where they can borrow even close to 200,000. And then from there, they'll be now scaled up to SME loan where they can now borrow millions of shillings.
And we close it at that point. We shift it at that point.
It is transformative.
We shift it at that point.
It is transformative. But
Thank you very
tell
much.
Sigay to repay.
We
love him
from the peers.
and we love so many of those defaulters that are still our people, and that's why we've been lenient with them, and we feel they can still change. Grab this opportunity, repay your loan so that you are on a good standing to be able to be graduated to other enhanced products that can make a difference in your day-to-day life. Thank you.
PS MSME Development, Susan Mangeni. From a business perspective, as we head to business, every shilling counts. I'm Regina Manyara. Now over to you, Betty Kiptum, for business.
Hii season hatuchezi tu, tunasaidia na tunashinda. Kupitia *570# na kuchagua option number 4, you stand a chance ya kujishindia this beautiful, sleek Toyota Probox. With a 1500cc engine, fuel consumption iko chini. Exterior iko sawa, and let's not forget, iko na a spacious boot. Iko na sound system mzuri sana with speakers on both sides, phone holder na touchscreen monitor. Ukijishindia hii gari, there's so much you can do. Kama ni kuendea stock sokoni, hii gari itakufaa. Kama ni transportation, iko sawa. Dial *570#, chagua option number 4 na uchomoke na this Toyota Probox hii December.
Sitababaishwa kabisa. Hivi munionavyo niko imara kama mlima.
Safira, umesikia habari yoyote? Habari gani?
Kuna makubwa zaidi yaliyofanywa Jasiri. Hatuwezi tukasubiri tukaambiwa tumeitiwa nini.
Vipi mjule Jasiri hali yake na jana na juzi ulikuwa mchukia?
Mimi ninavyokuambia paka sasa bado namchukia.
Nyinyi ni wazee wa vipi ambao hamwezi kuniambia ni nani anataka kunimaliza?
Kati yetu sisi ni yupi unayemshuku?
Mimi nakushuku wewe Msiri.
A very good evening to you. Thank you for watching Prime Edition, Time for Business News. My name is Betty Kiptum. Now, the ongoing public participation exercise on proposed tax amendment bills has stirred mixed reactions in Mombasa County, with a section of residents expressing their dissatisfaction with the bills, arguing that the changes would impose a heavier financial burden on ordinary citizens. The National Assembly Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning encountered stiff opposition from participants who demanded clear justifications for the proposed amendments. The committee, however, assured residents that their feedback would be incorporated into the final decision-making process. The proposed amendments include Business Laws Amendment Bill 2024, Tax Procedures Amendment Bill 2024, Tax Laws Amendment Bill 2024, among others.
Kwa hivyo the more mupite tax, the more iwepe sheria average salary ya mwananchi asikubali chini ya himo na ifatiliziwe. Although tunasema tu iko, najua iko, lakini haiko implemented. Tunaumizwa sana.
Taxation from gratuity to payments. Naona hapa mimi nilipo retire najua 240 ndio ilikuwa nimepata tax free. Lakini hapa increase to 360. Mambo yalivyo sasa na hali ya uchumi katika nchi yetu, naomba badala kwa 360 iwe 500,000. Taxation ianze from 500,000.
Mostly watu wafanya public participation, na at the end of the day vitu vinapitishwa, hata kama zile ambazo tujapitisha tukija tukiangalia tuwapata zimepitishwa. Since leo ndo first time naona kama bunge la finance liko hapa na wazee wa mitaa na machifu ambao wako hapa. Je, hii safari hii hata zile tulizopinga zitakubalika?
Nataka kuhakikishia hata sasa masuala ambayo Wakenya wameweza kuyasema yanafaa kurekebishwa,
tutahakikisha ya kwamba tumepiga huu mswada msasi kabisa kuhakikisha mambo ambayo yanakasirisha Wakenya, ambayo hayatakuwa na tatizo, ambayo yataongezea cost of doing business, tunaweza kuyatoa katika ripoti yetu. Na utaona tutahakikisha kwamba tumeyatoa.
Bank Kenya has reported a profit after tax of 14.7 billion shillings for the third quarter ending September 30th, 2024, marking a 20% growth from the previous year. The bank attributes this strong performance to the disciplined execution of strategic initiatives.
Bank Kenya's third quarter financial results show that non-performing loans increased by 1.4 billion shillings, rising to 3.5 billion shillings. Loans and advances for the period increased to 311 billion shillings, with 94 billion shillings in new lending directed toward key economic sectors. Total assets dropped to 483 billion shillings, down from 505.3 billion shillings during the same period last year. Despite these setbacks, the bank's total revenues rose by 16% to 46.8 billion shillings, driven by growth in both funded and unfunded income streams. Funded income grew by 18% to 34.5 billion shillings, while non-funded income expanded by 13% to 12.2 billion shillings. Customer deposits, however, reported a decline to 352 billion shillings. The bank has attributed its cost rise by 13.7% to continued investment and support for small businesses and women-led enterprises.
Now, the Kenya Revenue Authority is urging informal sector players and small business owners in Nakuru County to generate and transmit their invoices electronically using the Electronic Tax Invoice Management System, that is eTIMS, during the ongoing Jinai na Receipt Legit campaign, spearheaded by the Kenya Revenue Authority in collaboration with Kenya Broadcasting Corporation. eTIMS experts noted a slow uptake of the system among non-VAT taxpayers. They emphasized that the initiative aims to boost tax compliance and enhance revenue collection. Tomorrow, the campaign caravan will make stops in Njoro, Elbargon, Molo and Maimahiu before concluding in Nakuru town.
Reason as to why we are doing this participation is to give back to the community. Most of the time you find that taxpayers or the public at large, when they see KRA, they think we are going for them. But this time we change the tact. We want to give back to the public, and the major reason is just to accommodate every other person and to encourage the culture of asking for receipts whenever you go to purchase. Another thing, when you encourage the culture for purchasing, asking an invoice when you purchase is to increase the revenue, and by this, when invoices are being transmitted to us, we have the clarity on the same.
So the uptake has been good so far with VAT taxpayers. Where there's a bit of work to be done is with the non-VAT taxpayers. By non-VAT, I mean the taxpayers who do not have the VAT obligation. Taxpayers on the turnover tax, income tax, partnership and company, monthly rental income. We are still driving the uptake. It's a bit low on non-VAT, but with VAT taxpayers, the compliance is doing good.
Moving on, savings and credit cooperatives societies, that is SACCOs, have been encouraged to put risk mitigation measures in place to secure members' savings. Cooperatives Alliance of Kenya Chief Executive Officer Daniel Marube says more than 90% of SACCOs do not have risk mitigation structures, exposing the SACCOs to shocks that has seen some SACCOs struggle financially.
A number of savings and credit cooperative societies have been grappling with financial challenges, with some forced to liquidate to pay off debts. The Cooperative Alliance of Kenya attributes the financial challenges in the subsector to inadequate risk mitigation measures. The Alliance CEO Daniel Marube says less than 10% of SACCOs in the country have adequate risk mitigation structures to protect them from shocks.
It's very important we have realized that the cooperatives, we adopt the risk identification, management and mitigation programs within our daily management so that we can be able to safeguard the resources of our members.
Increased insurance uptake and inter-SACCO borrowing to reduce reliance on expensive commercial loans have been earmarked to strengthen the sector and protect them from external financial shocks.
As leaders, as members, we also have an obligation, to manage SACCO affairs, which includes managing risks.
To increase SACCO numbers, the government is planning to register additional workers to attract more members from the informal sectors.
What the worker cooperative business model is doing is giving us an opportunity to include women and youth. And you might wonder, what is worker cooperative? By definition, worker cooperative is a cooperative business entity that is run, owned, and controlled by workers who are members within that cooperative.
Workers in the informal sector have been encouraged to form and join cooperatives to easily access both national and county government contracts. Winslow Spamba for Prime Edition.
And 2 students undertaking Internet of Things and Robotics Studies at Rift Valley Institute of Business Studies have developed a security system that uses global system for mobile communication and guards against theft, toxic gas leaks, fires, intrusion, and prying in residential premises. The innovation leverages science and technology, reassuring home and business owners of the safety of their property.
The creation is an automated anti-theft system that works by notifying the owner when there is an intruder in a home, as it is fitted with motion detectors and sensors. Since the innovation is computerized, users are able to access the security system from wherever they are.
In our home, we have data. And as we all know, data is prone to hacking and everything. So we need to understand more of the cybersecurity aspect, more to protect our data. So the data which is being monitored from your home should also be protected.
A microcontroller constantly monitors all sensors, and upon detection of a threat, a message is sent to the user's phone through Global System for Mobile Communication modem. Further, the anti-theft system has also been equipped with a smoke sensor that detects gas leaks and noxious fumes in the house, particularly the kitchen, that then alerts the occupants through a buzz or a remote control device to ensure safety.
In our kitchen, we also have the same thing, an IR sensor. It is used to trigger the lights in the kitchen. And one feature that we decided to add for safety purposes is a smoke sensor or air quality sensor.
The innovators plan to release their creation to the market next year after completion of a series of tests. The innovation was found viable through a pilot project conducted at a residential estate and has been installed in 3 homes which are being monitored.
On home automation, first of all is to make a simple and scalable prototype to show people that it is possible.
Experts in the science and technology field urge the government to ramp up investments in science, technology, engineering and mathematics subjects to drive up the country's economic development. Nduta Mokami for Prime Edition.
Now, the Kenya Ports Authority is projecting to handle 2.2 million 20-foot equivalent units, that is TEUs, by the end of 2024, which is a 20% growth compared to last year's performance. According to the Kenya Ports Authority Managing Director, Captain William Ruto, the port has already handled 1.75 million TEUs, with the growth attributed to enhanced operational efficiency. Speaking after a meeting with the Mombasa Port and Northern Corridor Community Charter Secretariat, Captain Ruto also revealed that plans are underway to extend Container Terminal 1 berth number 19B by an additional 240 meters, a move which he said is expected to boost the port's capacity by 300,000 TEUs annually.
This year, 2024, as we speak right now, we have surpassed the targets for last year. We are currently at 1.75. And with only 1.5 months to go, I have every confidence that despite our target having been 1.9 million, we are really going to hit 2.2 million if all goes well. So that will be a growth of more than 20%. We are also extending the Container Terminal 1, that is berth number 19B. Very soon we will be signing the contract with the contractor to add an additional 240 meters quay length, an additional capacity in terms of TEU capacity of 300,000 TEUs. On top of that, again, to add on it is that we are also going to Dongokundu to start doing the DK1. We've already signed the contract with the contractor, and the contractor currently is now mobilizing. And we expect in another 2 years, number 19B with an additional capacity of 300 TEUs will be ready.
We have seen an increment of transit cargo through the port. Between 2022 and 2024, we have an increase of about 17%. We see improvement in the transit to Burundi by about 14%. Recently, we had Ethiopia, which initially was doing about 8,000 tons to 847 tons through the port of Lamu. So as an industry, we are happy with what we are seeing.
From maritime matters to agriculture now, a section of livestock farmers are now manufacturing animal feeds using black soldier fly as a key protein ingredient to lower feed costs. The project, initiated by the Consultative Group for International Agricultural Research Project, has seen farmers start manufacturing their own feed to mitigate against high global feed raw material prices.
Kenya imports 60% of the 55 million metric tons of animal feeds used in the country annually. To lower the feeds import bill and cost of production in the livestock subsector, farmers have been encouraged to formulate their own feeds. A section of farmers in Kisumu have started using black soldier fly to manufacture animal feeds as a substitute for the expensive soya.
We are getting that the larvae itself, if we sell, we'll get money. From the larvae itself, we shall get frass. Frass can also be plowed back into the soil as a nutrient.
The insect larvae are rich in proteins, an ideal source for livestock, including poultry, fish, and pigs.
At first, I was afraid of the black flies. The black soldier flies were scaring me. In fact, I was afraid of the larvae. I couldn't even touch them. But nowadays, I have found it is beneficial.
The CGIAR, under its initiative on nature-positive solutions, is training farmers on the processing of the fly and composition of locally manufactured feeds.
I've liked the whole, the whole idea about BSF, because it is not just going to take care of an area. It is an activity that is all round.
The fly's larvae also thrive on organic waste, converting the waste into organic manure. The initiative aims to support sustainable agriculture production by reducing cost through eco-friendly farm practices.
And that is the business news this evening. Sports news is coming up with Karen Kibet. My name is Betty Kiptum. Good night.
Ungependa kuwa mshindi na Lucky Box? Ni rahisi sana.
Bonyeza *463# uwe mshindi.
Moja katika jinsi ya kuweza kujibiwa dua za Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala ni kwa kufanya rakaa 2 na kusoma dua. Ukiwa na haja yote, jambo lolote unalitaka katika mambo yako ya kidini na dunia na akhera, nenda shika udhu.
Kila mtu anaweza kuwa mshindi. Bonyeza *463# uwe mshindi.
Kuchagua box ni kuchagua chapa.
Kumbuka, kila unapocheza Lucky Box unasaidia watoto kusoma.
Ama si hivyo, atoe watu wale waliumiza watoto wetu.
Wacha ingie ndani, aende alipie makosa yake.
Jemedari will do the job for me. I'll take the credit.
Are you sure Jemedari will handle this?
Ndajuaje utatumia hii maneno kunisaliti?
Hizi vyombo mimi ndo nimenunua.
Wala Biblia haifurahii mambo na uchawi.
Okay.
Ale.
I need some water.
Ale. Una sweat. Unapiga nduru.
Sio tu ni ndoto ya kawaida.
Unautemea na ndale.
Babe, please. Wewe pia uamke, wacha kunipa stress.
Kama uongei mimi ndakuacha hapo udili na hii mess peke yako.
I can't believe I called you.
And I cannot believe you called me either.
A very good evening to you. Thank you for keeping it Prime Edition. My name is Karen Kibet. Let's now talk sports. The national men's soccer team Harambee Stars drew 0-0 with Namibia in their final Group J qualification match of the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations, which was played today at Peter Mokaba Stadium, Polokwane, South Africa.
Had already been bundled out of the qualification for the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations finals after a 1-1 draw against Zimbabwe last Friday, as the Warriors booked their ticket alongside Cameroon as runners-up in Group J.
3 o'clock in South Africa, where we're playing this game. Kenya against Namibia.
Kenya wound up third with 6 points after the goalless draw against Namibia, who finished last with 2 points after earning another point during their barren draw with Cameroon. The indomitable Lions topped the group with 14 points after a 2-1 defeat of Zimbabwe, who wrapped their campaign with 9 points. Morocco will host the 35th edition of Africa's premier soccer competition from 21st of December 2025 through to January 18th, 2026. Kenya will now wait until 2027 to return to the Africa Cup of Nations, having qualified automatically as co-hosts alongside Uganda and Tanzania.
And the referee comes over.
Bunge FC is targeting to win the soccer title, among others, at this year's East Africa Community Interparliamentary Games, scheduled from the 6th to the 18th of December this year in Mombasa. This year's games will see members of the parliament battle for top honours in not only soccer, but volleyball, basketball, athletics, netball and darts for persons with disabilities as well.
Bunge FC will be out to end the wait for the soccer title when they take to the pitch in front of their home fans at the 14th edition of the East Africa Community Interparliamentary Games. At the 2 previous editions of the Games, Bunge has come close to winning the title twice. They finished first runners-up in 2022 and in third place in 2023.
Tunatarajia kutuzwa. Uzuri wa kucheza nyumbani kutakuwa na ule 12th man. Kama mashabiki. Namba 2, wale wabunge wengine ambao mara mingi unapata hawezi kusafiri, niko na waki kwamba mwaka huu utakuwa nao, sababu mara mingi unapata mtu yuko na shughuli fulani tofauti, wabunge wanakosa kusafiri, lakini round hii na waki kwamba tutaweza kusafiri na tutakuwa na team full, tutakuwa na full squad.
If there's a match I'm looking forward to, it is a Uganda game, because they have really been a thorn in our flesh. It's been a long time since we last beat them. The other year we drew. Last year they beat us 1-0. This year we hope to, and I am certain we will down them.
Sasa fitness ya members iko juu. Tuko na timu sasa karibu seti 3. Tuko na enough members wa kucheza. Sasa ninatumaini kwamba tutabeba kikombe.
Bidii yetu ya kuja kucheza pamoja kila siku kwa wiki, hiyo ni kumaanisha kwamba mtu atalala wakati tunaenda kucheza.
The team has intensified its training in readiness for the Yala Games by playing a series of friendly matches with top league sides.
So we're looking for the opportunity to train with people who can make us run and gain the match fitness faster. If we get younger men, they'll be more quicker, so it'll be a bit more difficult for us to play more. So that's why we are sticking with the ladies.
Mwaka uliopita tulikuwa na upinzani mkubwa kutoka kwa Uganda, lakini mwaka huu na vile ulisikia tulikuwa na injuries kwa tegemeo, kwa wale ambao walikuwa tegemeo. Other than that pia tumepata watu ambao wamejoin team kama huyu Mogaka mnamuona hapa, tuko na Barongo, tuko na Cherorot hapa, tuko na Zair Janda, tuko na huyu anaitwa Engoko.
Mwaka huu nadhani kwa sababu sisi ndio host, nadhani hatutaweza kuaibisha taifa letu. Kwa hivyo tuko tayari na tutapeperusha bendera yetu juu.
6 countries, Rwanda, Burundi, South Sudan, Tanzania and Uganda, have confirmed participation in this year's games, which seek to promote cohesion and integration among member countries.
Our biggest trader actually huwa ni Uganda, na tunahope kufanya the same na Tanzania na Southern Sudan na Ethiopia, wako na economy kubwa. Kwa hiyo unanuia kulete watu pamoja ndiposa tuweze kuwa na trade mzuri sisi wenyewe.
Sisi kama Wakenya ni wakarimu sana. Wakati kutoka Juba, umetoka kule Dar es Salaam, umetoka Kampala, umetoka kule Kigali, wewe kujua kwamba Wakenya ni wakarimu, na ukarimu wetu utaujua kwa zile mabao ambayo tutamimina.
Bernard Okumu, Prime Edition.
Thank you, Okumu, for that detailed report. Moving on, the President of Confederation of African Football, CHAN, Dr. Patrice Motsepe, will visit Kenya again in December to check on the progress of the preparedness to host the 2024 African Nations Championship. He will also visit Uganda and Tanzania, who will be co-hosting the championship with Kenya from the 1st to the 28th of February next year.
His visit, President of CAF will be briefed on the progress and readiness of the stadia, other infrastructure and facilities for hosting the 2024 African Nations Championship CHAN, which is scheduled to take place in February next year in Kenya, Uganda and Tanzania. Dr. Motsepe will also host the CAF Executive Committee in Tanzania to deliberate on other issues concerning the important pathway to $1 billion in African football over the next 8 years, the CAF awards in Morocco, and the allegations to governance non-compliance in the CAF Secretariat. The President of CAF last visited Kenya in September to check on the stadium earmarked for the 2027 Africa Cup of Nations, where he said he was impressed with the progress. The Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Youth Affairs, Creative Economy and Sports, Kipchumba Murkomen, says the government will leave no stone unturned to ensure that Kenya is ready to co-host the 2024 Africa Nations Championship, as well as the 2027 Africa Cup of Nations with Uganda and Tanzania, with the construction of Talanta Sports City and ongoing upgrades at Kasarani and Nyayo in progress to ensure Kenya delivers world-class tournament.
And those are all the sports stories we had for you tonight. I'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place with more sports news. My name is Karen Kibet. I now hand you over to my colleagues Tom Boyer and Irene Muchuma. Tom.
Thank you, Marakwet, for that sporty update. And thanks to Betty Kiptum. She was there earlier. And our sign language, I've noticed we have a different one.
We had two, Lenso Dingo, and now we have Anungesh. But just before I forget, happy International Men's Day. To all the men, including our viewers. We honor and appreciate you. You bring strength and you inspire so many of us. And of course, we love you. We love you so much. Thank you for your time. My name is Mchuma Odim. Thank you for your feedback on our socials at KBC Channel 1.
And my name is Tom Boyer. Good night from Nairobi, Kenya.
On KBC Channel 1, we are a TV station like no other. Get a taste of the best in entertainment.
Yes, indeed.
Feel the passion.
Will you promise me?
I swear that you will never lose me. I can't get married to you.
I'm sure you knew about it. That's why you're making fun of me.
Experience the drama.
Get out.
Who is the man in this one?
And the laughter.
Hii wigi umevaa kichwani. Sisi wakati tulikuwa tunaapishwa tukapewa mheshimiwa.
Move to the beat.
We are live from Broadcasting House.
And get informed on the latest happenings. KBC Channel 1.
Wow. Yeah!
We are the full package.